Good morning and a very warm welcome from all of us here at Understanding Recruitment. And thank you for joining me wherever you may be. Please leave a comment in the about section and let us know where you're tuning in from. I did one of these just yesterday and pleased to be doing another. So, for those who don't know me, my name's Leo. I'm the head of JavaScript here at Understanding Recruitment. So, we are a specialist recruitment agency covering various different specialisms, including the likes of JavaScript, Golang, Rust, .NET, DevOps, etc. Today we will be covering all things JavaScript, so looking at a bit of an overview of the market, the different location where JavaScript talent is located, um, the top employers of JavaScript talent, the universities people are coming from, and really importantly, sort of benefits and a salary guide for everyone to, stay up to speed with the latest trends. In terms of understanding recruitment, so we have been a specialist recruitment agency operating since 2007. We have different arms to the business. We have a HQ just 20 miles north of London, as well as a physical office over in Boston. We also have a solutions arm as well, which provides more of a sort of consultancy focus to different engineering companies. So what we're going to do is cover a bit of an overview of what we've seen in the market over the last sort of 12 months or so, and a little bit in terms of what we're expecting moving forward. So in terms of what we've seen in the market recently, it's been quite a difficult 12 months for software engineers across various sort of disciplines. So I think for many, the year was sort of overshadowed by a large number of sort of big tech layoffs, startups struggling to achieve great rounds of funding, and we see many sort of high caliber and good engineers on the market for a number of months in some cases, which is hugely stressful for all involved. What we are starting to see, however, is more of a positive uplift moving forward. So most of the noise has been largely positive. Lots of companies are anticipating to hire again in the new financial year in April, and more startups are starting to get more interest from investors and indeed more funding. So everything's on the up. It's still not quite as good as everyone would like it to be, but hopefully we've seen an end to the large number of layoffs and general sort of difficulty. So that should give you an overview, and hopefully everyone feels a little bit more positive. There seems to be more good action on LinkedIn as well, people landing new positions, etc. So, in terms of a bit more of an overview and sort of where people are based, so today's focused on all things JavaScript. So, people that have JavaScript in their LinkedIn profile that identifies JavaScript developers. We've gone out and done surveys and guides to everyone within our internal database. So, in terms of United Kingdom, and of course, we're going to be looking at Europe and the US. So, in the UK, we have just over 100,000 professionals with JavaScript, with a little bit of a better gender split than the industry average. So, it's quite often sort of 88% male dominated, sort of 12%, but JavaScript is a bit more positive in that front. The median tenure as well is industry standard at sort of that 1.4 years mark. Again, almost identical across Europe, and we're seeing something quite similar over in the United States as well. So, in terms of sort of general location and where people are based. So over in the UK, of course, in the capital city of London, we also have a good tech hub in the north of the country up in Manchester, as well as engineers over in Bristol, also looking into Scotland and the Highlands with Glasgow and Edinburgh, both having some really good tech companies and JavaScript talent based there. In terms of Europe, so Europe is a real sort of thriving tech hub. So seeing a big increase in French companies, especially a lot of French startups, not listed on there, but also a good amount of interest from companies based over in Berlin and Germany as well. So a good spread of engineers, of course, some really good Romanian and Dutch talent as well. In terms of the US, so the US, there is talent really well dotted around. So of course we've got some of our big sort of startups and companies over in San Fran, New York, where we ourselves have another office, Seattle, LA, Washington, and of course Dallas over in Texas has seen a huge increase in funding and general interest more recently. In terms of some of the top employers, so this is a good mix. Of course, some of the really big names there, which you would expect to see, the likes of Meta, Google, Amazon, have and remain sort of industry leaders, and these are the big tech companies, famous for also having very long interview processes as well. The BBC and Lloyd's also sitting amongst those. So again, some of these companies really hard to get into, but do have a very high bar and some excellent talent. Across Europe, so EPAM Systems is a big hirer, Capgemini, a big consultancy, Microsoft, of course, Amazon, and more. So that's what we're seeing across the UK and Europe. In terms of the US, again, the familiar faces, but with Apple and Capital One in the mix as well. Looking at where the kind of universities, where people are coming from, um, I think in software engineering more than any, coming from a strong academic background is really still quite important. So quite often engineers will study sort of computer science or with JavaScript, sometimes got a lot of graphic work as well. So we have the Open University is hugely popular, especially with people looking to get into coding, perhaps at a slightly later stage in life, so not when you're, sort of starting university at 18, 19. University of Manchester, very popular, as well as Imperial, Birmingham, and Queen's University over in Belfast. Um, Europe, of course, Ukraine has a large number of talented JavaScript developers, and their university producing some of their excellent talent. Universities in Poland as well, again famous for having a very strong bar and some excellent engineers coming from those universities. Over in the US, we have Georgia, the Institute of Technology, very famous and synonymous with good talent, as well as Southern California, Washington, Berkeley, and Northeastern University as well. So we touched on it ever so slightly. So we found that, among the sort of 77% of our survey respondents, 52% of these people believed that a degree did equip them for a necessary skill. And I think it's more synonymous with engineering than anything else, that typically if you go and do a comp sci degree or an IT degree, you are more likely to go into a profession where that skill set is utilised. So, unsurprisingly, you'll see most UK professionals will hold a comp sci degree or a computer science, computer engineering. So they're all quite similar in terms of the skill set that they will gift you. Similar scenes sort of across Europe and indeed across the United States as well. Moving on, and I think the benefit side of things is really important, particularly for hiring managers or people who are looking to kind of grow their teams. Um, so what we'll see is benefits are of huge importance, and what people are actually really looking for. So in terms of what people are typically getting at the moment, it's a mix of sort of share schemes or stock options in the earlier stage companies. Other things of great importance: healthcare, gym for your sort of well-being, dental, and lunches as well. Paid time off and pension contributions are, of course, sort of industry standard. It's worth noting, by the way, we are open for any questions. So if you do have any questions or would like anything followed up on, please do leave a comment in the section, and I'll be able to get back to you afterwards. Um, our survey also looks at that the majority do not kind of receive equity at the moment, and only 41% of people actually express an expectation to receive this. So I think this is something that will become more prevalent moving forward, as people certainly like to feel part of a company, and having sort of shares or equity is a huge um, perk in making sure and ensuring that you're bought into the values and actually seeing the business that you're part of do well, and being in it for the long run also. Another thing to look at, and I think is of huge importance, is the hybrid working setup. So this is typically, uh, across engineering, what a lot of people are most focused on. People really like having the flexibility to work in a way that suits them best. Opportunities that are fully remote across Europe do, or across Europe or across the US, are able to attract the best talent, because it is of huge preference to software engineers to be able to work, more remote than in office time. Of course, that isn't true for everybody, but typically, I think most people that we speak to are pro, certainly a hybrid approach, if not a fully remote approach as well. In terms of some other bits to sort of look at, and some of the stats you'll see on the screen do also reflect that. People are really quite anti 5 days a week in the office, but thankfully it's not something we're seeing too much of. So in terms of a few sort of other bits to touch on, so um, most people here feel underpaid. So that's 67.5% of people that we sort of surveyed feel underpaid. So that's been a big talking point, especially with inflation being at sort of all-time high across the world in general. But we haven't quite seen the boom that we saw sort of post-COVID in terms of a salary sort of inflation. So we're hoping that over the next sort of months and years that we'll start to see salaries again starting to rise for all engineers. Um, so I think inclusivity and diversity has also been a huge part in people's decision making when joining new companies, moving their next venture or opportunity. Software engineering, I think, is quite famous for being diverse and inclusive, and that's one of the great things about being involved in the sort of wider engineering community. In terms of where people are particularly interested, so we're seeing finance and banking, of course, synonymous with paying quite well, but also e-commerce and healthcare, and particularly health techs, are becoming increasingly popular as time goes on. I'd also anticipate seeing a huge rise in the interest of blockchains. We've seen a lot of investment in the sort of crypto and Web3 space over the last 5 years or so, and I dare say we'll see another crypto boom soon. So, in terms of salaries, what we'll see is quite a lot of similarity across sort of the UK and Europe. Of course, we are recruiting for a number of vacancies at the moment, some in Europe, some in the UK, some over in the US. So please do check out the link below and see if there's anything of interest. Um, so junior engineers in the UK and Europe are sort of looking um, at basically paying anywhere from 45 to about 60,000 pounds, or indeed euros. Mid-level developers in the UK going up to about 65,000 plus, with seniors starting at 80,000, and your engineering managers and your leads are usually looking at the six-figure plus mark. Um, in terms of that in Europe, so again, 60, 80,000 in quite a similar bracket there, because many European capital cities are as expensive as London to live. Um, in the US, so seeing a bit of a mix there, effectively. So we've seen some junior engineers start their careers on huge, huge sums of money. And of course, salaries really can go up to well into the 300K mark across the board, depending on which stage people are at. So that is mostly everything that we're looking to cover today. Um, Please do connect with me on LinkedIn. Please also sort of drop me a message in the comments section. If there's anything you'd like clarity on or further points, do let me know. Of course, I'd also be really happy to send you a physical copy of the talent and salary report for you to look through in your own time. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Any further questions, let me know and have a good day.